Hi, welcome to Pages with Sidra here. I bring you the novels behind your favorite manga, manhwa, and manhua, whether by translating or simply reading them for you. Let's dive into the stories that inspire the comics we all love. I got a cheat ability in a different world and become extraordinary even in the real world. Volume 11, Chapter 5, Battle with Yourself. Part 1. Then let's go. The next day, Gwen-san came to pick us up in front of the house, and as soon as we gathered, he snapped his fingers. At that moment, the scenery changed in an instant. Whereas the space we had been in until now was a vague scene like the border between the sky and space, the space we had just arrived at had a view as if we had been thrown out into the middle of the universe. However, unlike the outer space that we traveled through with Merle, there were rainbow-colored auras floating here and there like the aurora borealis, and countless galaxies seemed to be twinkling in the sky. As I gazed at the view, Gwen-san showed a mysterious expression on his face. This is the world of trials. Here you will undergo trials, and by overcoming them, you will gain divine authority. I see. Rest assured. There is no danger of death in this trial. Is that so? I thought for sure that without almost dying, you couldn't get divine authority. While everyone was puzzled, Gwen-san grinned. However, once you start the trials, you can't quit halfway through. Eh? As I explained yesterday, here in the heavenly realm, your bodies will stop aging. And you didn't have an appetite, did you? I rested yesterday because you asked me to, but I didn't feel hungry or even sleepy. That's right. Once you start a trial, you will be trapped in the world of trials forever until you get over it. Now, let me ask you one last question. After hearing all this, do you still want to go through the trials? We looked at each other and nodded toward Gwen-san. Yes. Affirmative. If it makes me stronger, I'll do anything. Me, too. I don't like to be left on the receiving end. That's for sure. I'll beat you after I acquire that divine authority. Well, I'm not that particular about it, but I can't help my curiosity in the face of unknown power. Each of us had different reasons, but we were all very motivated. Then, Avon Knight and the others raised their voices. Woof, woof, woof. Fugo, Buhai, Pai. Eh? Are Knight and the others going to take part in the trials too? I was surprised because I didn't think that even Knight and the others would show their willingness to participate in the trials, but Gwen-san nodded his head. If you want to take the trials, you can take them. If you don't regret it, that is. Woof. Knight nodded vigorously at the somewhat provocative words of Gwen-san. HMPH. Then I will stay here and wait for you while I sleep. Oh, Ama-san, you are not going to take the trials. I don't need it. Haha. I laughed at Ama-san, who was always going at his own pace. Well, Ama-san is an extraordinary being called the Genesis Dragon, and maybe he can actually use power like divine authority just because I don't know about it. In that sense, could Zenova-san also use divine authority? I thought it was necessary to quit being a human being in order to obtain divine authority. No, I think Zenova-san would be able to use divine authority without doing anything in particular. I got a little sidetracked in my thinking, but at any rate, the members who would undergo the trials were decided. When Gwen-sen confirmed it, he snapped his fingers. At that moment, a huge black vortex, like a black hole, appeared in front of us. This is. Now, let the trials begin. Last warning, once you start the trials, you will not be able to come back from the other side until you conquer it. Are you ready? Yes. Then begin the trials. With the signal from Gwen-san, our bodies were sucked into the black vortex. Exclamation. This is. As I was sucked into the black vortex, my vision blacked out for a moment, but the next moment, I was surrounded by a new landscape again. There was nothing in the sky, nothing on the ground, nothing but pitch black space. And it was not only the environment that had changed. What is that? My clothes. And this body is. For some reason, I was no longer in the armor I was wearing before, and I was wearing the uniform of the school I was in before I transferred to Ase Academy. In addition, before I knew it, my physique had reverted to my pre-level up appearance. Like myself, this space itself was strange. At first glance, I almost thought I had been thrown into a world of total darkness, but I could see my body clearly, so it was different from the usual darkness. What in the world is going on here? This is the trial. I was in a state of panic when a voice suddenly spoke to me. When I turned my head to look in that direction, I was stunned to see a person standing there. Why am I? Standing there was the post-level up me in the Blood Warrior Ogre's armor. The person in front of me, who seems to be another me, smiled wickedly at me as I stood there in a daze. NYX translations. Don't say something strange, okay? I'm not you. Eh? The way you are now is the real you, isn't it? The words that were said to me mockingly pierced deep into my heart. But the other person didn't care and continued talking. Now, let's talk about the trial. It's not that difficult. If you fight me and win, the trial will be over. How's that? That's. Now that I've explained it to you, let's get on with the trial. A. A moment later, a hole opened up in my stomach. Gabu. I had no idea what had been done to me. The next thing I knew, there was a hole in my stomach, and I collapsed to the ground. Then, in the haze of my vision, the post-level up me boldly spun some words. Hey, aren't you too weak? In his hand, he was holding the absolute spear. It is impossible to clear the trial like that, you know, right? The other person was saying something, but my consciousness was so foggy that I couldn't think straight. Just as I was thinking that I was going to die here, my consciousness suddenly came back clearly. A. W.Y. Moreover, I found that the hole in my stomach, which had been empty, had been completely closed in an instant. I was confused and didn't understand what was going on, but the other person told me. Didn't you hear that before you came here? In this world, you will never die. Oh. See, now that you understand, let's continue. I'll be waiting for you. The other guy totally looked at me without any trace of respect. I managed to get up and tried to take out my Omnisword from my item box. What? What? Not only the Omnisword but even my item box didn't appear. No matter how much I thought about it, nothing came out. The other party then erupted in an unbearable manner. PFFT ha 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 ha. How could it possibly come out? Hey. Hey, whose power is that originally? Is it yours? No, it's not. It's all thanks to the sage, isn't it? Huh. And the awesome titles. All those skills. All of it. They are not yours. They are all things that you got because of the sage. You don't have any power. I had nothing to respond with. The reason I've been able to fight in the other world so far, the reason I'm no longer bullied in the real world, it's not all because of my power. I was able to do this because of the legacy that Sage-san gave me. As I stood there, unable to say anything, the other man smiled at me with a lecherous smile. Hey, if you're not coming, I'll go to you, okay? Exclamation. And when I realized, my right arm was blown off. Ah. Ha ha ha. You can be a scarecrow. Hey. I screamed out in pain, but the other man just laughed at me. But this space didn't even allow me to faint from the pain. Even the most agonizing pain could be recovered in an instant after waiting a short while. Ah. Well, there's more to come. I've got plenty of weapons I haven't used, so let's have plenty of fun. That's when the real hell began. I was pierced through every part of my body with the absolute spear, and my limbs were slashed off with the Omnisword just for fun. I was slowly hunted down with a formless bow, and the arrows that poured down like rain pierced my entire body, making me look like a hedgehog. The moment I was hit with the infinite gauntlet, I could do nothing but feel endless pain, and the moment I was struck with the world strike, my body was reduced to bits as if I were a piece of wood. No matter how much I screamed, the other me never stopped attacking. It was as if all the power I had used up to this point was just thrown back directly at me. As I rolled around like a rag, the other man shouted at me in a truly bored tone. Hey, you really can't do anything, can you? That's just right. In the first place, you were just an incompetent person who couldn't do anything, weren't you? Ugh. However, I do have some sympathy for you, you know? You have tried to change yourself. But in the end, nothing changed. No matter how hard you tried, nothing changed. I wonder why. Maybe you're cursed or something? Haha. Why, I was the one who wanted to ask. I've been trying to do the best I can, just as the other guy said. But still, there was no change in my body. My body had not gained any muscle or strength. Every day I was avoided, shunned, and despised by those around me, even though I had done nothing to deserve it. What was I supposed to do? Am I really cursed by something? If so, why? Why me? And for that matter, look at me. I have nothing, but as if to show off the difference, the other me opened his arms and released all kinds of power from his body. It was all the power I had acquired up to now, such as magic armor, holy king authority, and holy evil creation. Besides, look at this. This is the divine authority you've been looking for. In addition to the power I had used up to that point, the other person was now clad in divine authority as well. How's that? Unlike you, I can do anything. Can you still say that you and I are the same beings? You can't say that, can you? Ha 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 ha. The other me, who had laughed for a while, clapped his hands as if he had just thought of a good idea. Oh, yes. I'll make you disappear completely, and I'll become the real Yu Yatenju. Don't you think that would be better for the world? I wanted to deny what the other me said, but the words to refute him never came out of my mouth. Because somewhere in the back of my mind, I had to admit it. The other guy in front of me is more suitable for the world, not me. There is no merit for the world to have me, who can do nothing. But the person in front of me can do anything. Even save the world. Hey, the more I think about it, the more I like it. If I'm the one who can do anything, it shouldn't be impossible for me to get out of this space. Kyukuku, this is exactly what I call a revelation. So that's how it is. You can disappear without worry, okay? I'll save the world or whatever in your place. The other guy laughed happily. Then he thought of something more. If I switched places with you, it wouldn't be a bad idea to rule the world. Because I have that much power. What? My eyes widened at the man's words. What are you surprised at? Superior humans dominate the inferior creatures. It's natural, isn't it? No, you can't do that. Oh, who are you talking to? Gah. I was kicked in the stomach by the other guy with all kinds of enhancements applied to his body. The power of the kick caused my body to explode, but a few moments later, my body was back to normal again. Then, my head was restored to its normal state, and the other guy released his enhancements and stomped on my head. Ugh. You, who are lower than anyone else, what are you talking back to me about? You have no rights. I am everything. Putty, that's not true. You pissed me off. As the emotions drained from his expression, the other guy increased the force with which he stomped on me. Gah. That's right, as punishment for challenging me as a lowly creature, I'm going to mess up your precious things after I switch places with you. Wah. I'm going to kill that dog, that pig, that bird, that lizard, and all the people at your school. And no. S Japanese letter I Japanese letter S I D, don't you dare tell me what to do. Kaha. Well, I guess it's decided that I'm going to mess up your precious things now. No, you're going to die here anyway, so if you consider that I am sending your precious things together with you, it's not a punishment but a reward, isn't it? Ahahaha. I tried to stop the guy who was smiling innocently, but helpless as I was, I couldn't do anything. You ugh. Ah, good grief, keep struggling, keep struggling. What a nuisance. When the man uttered that in a truly troublesome manner, he moved his foot away from my head and took out the omnisword. And then he released all of his power again, including his divine authority. I'm tired of dealing with incompetent people like you anymore. So die. With a blank look on his face, he swung down omnisword. Then that strike, which I had not even been able to react to before, seemed to slow down very much. At the same time, the memories of the past run through my mind. I guess this is what they call a running memory. Looking back until I found the door to another world, I really had nothing to show for my life. Then I stepped into the other world and inherited Xenovis-sen's legacy, and my life changed in one fell swoop. Without what Sage Sen gave me, I would have been nothing to begin with. So when the person in front of me said that he would switch places with me, I couldn't even retort because I know that a man who can do anything is better for the world than me who can't do anything. Even though I am such a person who can do nothing, there is one thing I can never back down from. The man in front of me said he would destroy what I hold dear. I don't care what happens to me, even if it means risking everything I have. I want to protect the people I care about. I can't believe how frustrating it is to be so helpless. I just stared at the approaching blade, unable to do anything about it. At that moment, wah, just as the Ama sword blade touched my neck, the blade was repelled by something. Alright, that wraps up part 2 of Chapter 5 Battle with Yourself. Let's dive straight into the next part of this chapter. Stay tuned as we uncover what happens next. What happened? How could the Ama sword be repelled? The man was right. It was inconceivable that the Ama sword, which was said to cut through everything, would be repelled. The other man swung the Ama sword at me many times, but for some reason, all of them were repelled before they touched my body. As I was stunned by this impossible scene, I suddenly became aware of a faint aura of something being emitted from my body. It was not magic, not holy or evil power, not even that divine authority. I looked down at my body and saw that my entire body was enveloped in a dark purple aura of misery. What is this? What is that power? Tell me. The man asked in an intense tone, but I myself had no idea what was going on. I had never seen such power before. The shimmering purple aura was so bewitching that I was horrified, and yet it radiated an ominous presence. I was surprised by a power I didn't remember at all, but there was something else that caught my attention even more. My body is getting lighter. After this aura was emitted, I felt as if my body had become lighter than before. It was not a feeling as if I had been strengthened by magic power, but purely as if my body weight had been reduced. The man's expression was bitter as he was stunned by the unknown situation. It ain't possible. Your power, whatever it is, was given to you by the sage. That's why you should have no power in this space. It's supposed to be that way. And yet, what is that power? Are you saying you were born with it? While the man was saying all sorts of things, I was staring at this purple aura. I have no idea what this power is. But somehow, I understood how to use the power. I could move it as if it were my own limbs, as if it were a skill I had used for many years. Apparently, this aura, like magic, not only strengthens me but also allows me to shape something. As I checked the purple aura, I unconsciously formed a sword with it. In response to me, the man said something as if he had regained his composure. Huh? Do you want to fight me with that strange sword? Do you really think you can win? I don't know what this power is, but it would be difficult to defeat the man who has been enhanced with all kinds of power, including divine authority. Even if I'm enhanced by some mysterious aura, the difference must be obvious. But no matter what happens, I will stop you. Ah, I see. Then I'll kill you quickly and mess up your precious things, just as planned. Exclamation. As soon as the man finished saying that, he instantly took out the absolute spear and threw it at me with all his might. After coming to this space, the spear, which had pierced my body many times, was coming at me again. I am really scared. But I am more afraid that the people I care about will get hurt. Then, in my unconsciousness, a violet aura appeared in both of my eyes. At that moment, the approaching absolute spear slowed down. Hell! Not missing the opportunity, I caught it with my aura sword and let the impact of the absolute spear escape before it pierced through me. But then the other man took advantage of the opportunity and slashed at me. It's impossible for you to beat me, you fool. The man smiled victoriously. He was right, it would be impossible for me to win. At that moment, the image of Zenivisen appeared in my mind. The great man who changed my life after I came to another world. If Zenivisen were here, what would he say? It's obvious. You can just cut the impossible. What I clung to was the idleness strike that I learned from Zenivisen. In an instant, I entered a state of extreme concentration and slashed through the man's Amma sword with my aura sword. What? Indeed, the Amma sword can cut through everything. But such a thing can also be easily done with a well-trained technique. Senavis-san certainly said so. Oh, I see. Certainly, my physical abilities would be poor as that is a given. But the time I spent wielding the wooden sword with Sage-san in the past world is definitely mine. The training with Sage-san had nothing to do with skill, it was truly about mastering the skill. So this skill and experience were not a gift. It belonged to me. I slashed the Amma sword and moved in a fluid motion, slicing the man in two from the top of the head. The man's eyes widen, and he falls to his knees. Ah, ridiculous. I'm the one who's. He mutters as if grumbling, and the man's body disappears as particles of light. Did I win? And as the particles of light spun around my body, they eventually permeated my body. At that moment, my vision blacked out again. This is. Gwen could not believe what I saw before my eyes. I brought the people of the lower worlds to the trial chamber in order for them to acquire divine authority. This space was used for trials to awaken those who did not have divine authority. However, divine authority was literally divine authority and could not be acquired by people from the lower worlds. If so, why bother? By stepping outside the framework of human beings. The place for this was the trial chamber. And although it was easy to put into words, it was very difficult to actually accomplish it. It was not the same as becoming genuinely strong and gaining strength like a non-human. To quit being human could only be accomplished by defeating oneself. During this trial, one must confront and fight against oneself as a test. At first glance, this may seem easy, but to fight and defeat an opponent who has the exact same power and mindset as you, I would say that it would be impossible to do so. However, the people I brought with me this time broke through this trial one after another. I must admit that I underestimated them. However, there was one person among them who was extraordinary. A man named Yuya defeated me without even having divine authority. While the others were fighting the exact same opponent as themselves, for some reason, only Yuya's opponent was far more powerful than himself, or rather it was exactly like Yuya before the trial, but in contrast to that, for some reason, Yuya himself was shabby and ridiculously weak. What in the world had happened? Why was his opponent stronger than him? I didn't know why, but perhaps there were two sides to Yuya, and this weak figure was the essence of Yuya. I don't know what to think of this, but it would be impossible for Yuya to break through this trial. After all, the opponent is a being that even I couldn't defeat. On the other hand, the current Yuya is truly a lowly creature. The difference is as great as the difference between heaven and earth. Although I could not see the details of the trial, it was obvious that this would be a one-sided and enormous blow to Yuya. I was about to make a decision. Should I interrupt the trial here? It was just when I was about to make that decision. A strange power overflowed from Yuya's soul. It was something I had not felt even when we fought, and it was as if it had been sealed deep within Yuya. And the moment I saw that power, I was struck with an intense feeling of disgust. What is this power? The mysterious shimmering purple aura is almost alluring by the looks of it, but it has such conflicting qualities that some fundamental part of us as living beings rejects it. In a sudden surprise, Yuya used this power to overcome himself, who was far more powerful than he was. At one point, I wondered what would happen, but Yuya had a mysterious power in his body that I didn't understand, and I think it led to his success in this trial. He is a lower world being but very dependable. With a smile on my face, I headed back to Yuya and the others after the trial. Hamati, this place. You're back. Yuya-kun. When I opened my eyes, it was the same view from before the trial. I was looking around in a daze when Iris-san rushed over to me and checked my body. Are you hurt anywhere? Are you okay? I'm fine. I'm fine. As I was telling this to Iris-san, who was touching my body and checking me over and over again, Master Yuzaki came over to me. You were the last one. What? Is that so? Yeah. Iris and I came back here at about the same time, but at that time, only Akatsuki had already passed the trial. Eh? Buhai. Akatsuki was somewhat proudly puffing out his chest. In other words, Akatsuki was the first to clear the trial. Then Odis, Yudi, Knight, and the others came back, and finally, you. I see. That's how tough Yuyadono's trial was, huh? Yes, that's right. I was about to answer Odie-san's words when I realized that I couldn't remember the details of the trial. I'm sure that I had the trial, but I can't remember what it was about. As I thought, you too, Yuya-kun. Eh? That means you all are also. Affirmative. I don't remember either. Woof. Apparently, none of us remember what the trial was about. No surprise you don't remember. Gwen-san. Then Gwen-san quietly approached us. What do you mean by no surprise? In order for you to attain divine authority, you must be outside the human frame of reference. And that requires the awakening of the soul. Awakening of the soul. Yes. The soul is the most important power in your world and in this heavenly realm as well. The soul can exist on its own in that space, where it is refined and awakened to obtain divine authority. So this is the outline of the trial. I see. The soul stores all kinds of information about your past lives. But you will never know or remember it. Am I right? Yes. You mean that the records imprinted on our souls will not be remembered by us? That's what I mean. The contract between Zenova-san and me was also supposed to be a contract through the soul. That is why the strange situation occurs that Zenova-san forgets about me, but his soul remembers me. Anyway, even if you yourself don't remember it, your soul remembers it. As proof of that, how about it? I believe you are now able to use your divine authority. Yes. Saying this, Iris-san erupted a rainbow-colored aura from her palm. Following that, everyone activated their divine authority. I tried it myself and was able to activate it without any problem. Mysterious. I don't remember it, but I can use it. Well, it's just like training, isn't it? It's similar to being able to use a technique unconsciously. Is it really so? Well, since I can use it like this, I have nothing to complain about. While each of us was manipulating the divine authority as we wished, I had the feeling that I had forgotten something crucial. I don't know what it was, but something must have happened during the trial. Then Gwen-sen continued. At any rate, you have gone through the trial and attained divine authority. The process of that trial must have helped you a great deal. Even if you don't remember it now, your soul will remember it. And you will remember it at some point. According to Gwen-san's words, I will remember what I have forgotten in due time. I felt a little queasy, but I forced myself to accept it. Good. Anyway, you guys received divine authority. The rest is up to. That was the moment he was about to say that. As if knocked off his feet, Gwen-san looked up and stared off into the distance with a startled expression on his face. Ah, ridiculous. What in the world is wrong with you? We were alarmed by his unusual reaction, and he raised his voice. That guy's here. That guy? The false god. It seemed that we were going to have a real battle with the false god. Thank you for watching Pages with Sidra. I hope you enjoyed this chapter of I got a cheat ability in a different world, and became extraordinary even in the real world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more volumes and novels. Let's keep exploring these amazing stories together. See you in the next one.